Other cost of living crisis pressures are increasing in the UK and faster than estimated. The annual inflation rate breached the 10% barrier in July for the first time in 40 years, while the consumer prices index accelerated to 10.1% last month from 9.4% in June, driven largely by higher food and fuel costs. While the Bank of England forecasts inflation would peak at 13.3% in October, when regulated household energy prices are next due to rise. A recession is forecast by many analysts to follow. And Laura Makin-Isherwood joins us now. Laura, we're seeing rising inflation across all advanced economies, but it has been stronger in the UK than, say, other G7 and European nations. Why is that?
Well, there's a lot of focus being put on the cost of food items, as you said, and it's staple items like bread, milk, cheese. They're the ones that are really accelerating this inflationary pressure. People, of course, going to the shops, finding that their weekly or monthly shop is costing far more than they've ever seen before. We've heard, of course, that this might not be the end of this surge, that actually forecasters are saying that inflation could reach more than 13% later on in the year. And this trend is outstripping anything that forecasters had predicted. Now, the government here in the United Kingdom are blaming what it's calling a global phenomenon, looking at the war in Ukraine, also saying that supply chain issues following the pandemic, and also we can expect as well those issues at the borders because of the Brexit scenario that the UK is facing right now and trade there. They are all adding pressure to these costs, making it that the supply of food entering the country is not quite at the level it was before. And so there's a lot happening in the economy, also sort of socioeconomically as well, that is causing this chaos.
Well, Laura, can the UK inflation numbers be seen as a bellwether for the rest of Europe, given that energy and food prices are soaring across this continent?
Well, it's very possible. And as I said, economists are predicting for this inflation to hit more than 13% as we move towards October. Here in the UK, we're expecting the cap on the amount that households have to pay for their energy to be lifted once again. That could add thousands of pounds to the average household's energy usage bills over the course of a year. That's going to, of course, dent the amount that people have in their pockets month to month. And we know that the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, has downgraded its growth forecasts globally as well. Both Europe and the UK and the US are facing those reduced figures. The US and Europe saw a reduction in growth, a fall in growth, if you like, to sort of negative figures in the second quarter of this year. And they're concerned that there may not be any kind of rebound coming. And so if we're asking about whether the UK is the bellwether, it's definitely one of the forerunners across Europe, full stop. But it's whether or not the different banks and monetary policies that can be put in place, the different mechanisms, can tackle this in a different way. Of course, the UK is working in isolation, making its policies through the Bank of England and also via the government as well. But then within Europe, the European Union, the Commission, the wider Eurozone will have to take into account a lot of different nations as they basically move forward into this crisis.
Many thanks for that, Laura Makin-Isherwood there in London.